right, I'm going to call the July 15th, 2024 regular board meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now let's all take a moment for silent prayer and meditation. Oops. Let's skip roll call. Mr. Engels, roll call.
Mrs. Detweiler.
Here.
Mr. Hooley. Here. Mr. McCartney.
Here.
Mr. Votoff.
Here.
Mrs. Walker.
Here. Now let's take a moment for silent prayer and meditation. Thank you. Okay, moving on to section 2.01. Can I get a motion to approve the July 15th, 2024 agenda for the regular board meeting?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Hooley.
Yes.
Mr. McCartney.
Yes.
Mr. Votoff.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker.
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. 3.01, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the June 24 regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
Mrs. Detweiler.
Yes.
Mr. Hooley.
Yes.
Mr. McCartney.
Yes.
Mr. Votoff.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to section 4.01, public participation. It's my understanding that we have LifeWise here today.
Gave it away.
I can see it. I see it. Welcome, everybody. We're moving quickly. Come on up.
All right, well, hello, and thank you for allowing us to just share our gratitude for a moment. We have some representatives here of LifeWise Jonathan Alder, and specifically LifeWise Canaan. We have 2 LifeWise Canaan students here, three. Yep. And we just, as an entire organization, we really appreciate you working with us to allow families in this community to have the opportunity to study the Bible during school hours. And specifically that we had Canaan students sign a thank you poster. And so Avery and Paige are here to present that, and Johnny, and to just share a little bit about what LifeWise meant to them last year.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things that I really liked about LifeWise was being able to show up and have a very warm welcome by Miss Swartz. And I loved being able to take time and write in our notebooks and write what we're learning about that night or that day, sorry. And just being able to Miss Swartz letting us pray ourselves, and I enjoyed it a lot.
I really like seeing my classmates being involved in the Bible. It was pretty cool to see different people coming, and then at the beginning we had people, but then a lot more people came, and it was really cool. And me and her all the time would have really fun writing in our notebooks about each lesson to remember that lesson, and we just had a lot of fun with each lesson that we went.
Thank you for coming, guys.
Thank you guys. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Nice job, ladies. It's not easy talking in front of people. You did a great job.
You're welcome to stay.
No one can scare him off. To scare him off.
Got it. I got it. Well done.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have any other public participation comments? It was a pretty quick board meeting for them. Okay, moving on to 5.01. Can I get a motion to approve the June 2024 financial reports as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Ingles?
Just gonna go over it quickly. We do have the June 30th monthly reports, but we also have put together a fiscal year in review document as well. That was in board docs in your packets, and it'll be online as well after this meeting, and Tyler's incorporated into our next newsletter. Just really quickly, some of the highlights. Local sources of revenue, maintains by and far our largest source of revenue, so that's our income tax and our property taxes. State sources increased this past year. We had a lot more restricted funding, one-time use funding that was part of the last state budget bill. So that helped kind of bump up that pie slice a little bit. In terms of expenditures, there's really nothing too surprising. Salaries and wages and benefits are just going to be our biggest costs because we are a people-centered organization. That's just what's going to happen. In terms of where we spent money last year, mostly in the classroom, instruction, special education, student support makes up the lion's share of our expenses. Plant operation and maintenance, so keeping these buildings operating, next largest source. And then we get into transportation and support for our staff. So we're spending our resources right here in the classroom, supporting our students and our staff. Compared to our 5-year forecast from May, we actually came out ahead, a little bit better than predicted. Mostly on the strength of our revenues coming in stronger. We had pilot payment from Amazon for its Union County facility. I wasn't sure when exactly that was coming, either June or July, so I didn't count that in for last fiscal year. It hit in the middle of June. So that's a big reason why our revenues exceeded expectations. So we ended up with a surplus last year, so we spent less than we brought in. Again, we came out ahead by about $134,000 compared to what we forecasted. So,
How much was the Amazon pilot?
$250,000 a year for 10 years. So, overall, it's another strong fiscal year. Looking forward to having another one. So.
Great, thank you for the explanation. Any other comments? Okay. Roll call.
Mr. McCartney.
Yes.
Mr. Hooley.
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler.
Yes.
Mr. Votoff.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to 5.02. Can I get a motion to approve the amended certificate of estimated resources and appropriations as presented?
So moved.
Second.
This
Mr.
is
Engels, do you?
Mostly just clean up from the other month. Building funds, we still have a balance left over from last year, so I want to spend those down. Again, that's just a leftover from our last project from 20 years ago. We are expecting more support from Amazon for, I think, big spaces. So including those funds and revenues and expected expenditures in there. So that'll support our courtyard improvements at Keenan and I think big spaces here at the high school and Keenan. Shifting more to capital projects, trying to relieve some pressure off our general fund, just kind of keep that healthy and balanced. Student success and wellness funds, trying to spend the rest of those down. We didn't spend as much as I thought we were last year, so we have a little bit of carryover. I'm trying to spend down. And finally, as kind of relates to our next item, I believe Mrs. Quick, Mrs. Crawl, and Mrs. Schrock has something to do with this. We received the McKinney-Vento sub-grant as a Title I grant for the next 3 years. It's $12,320 a year to help our homeless population. So thank you for your efforts on that. So.
What on the student wellness that wasn't spent all? What would that be an example of what we'd use that for?
Social workers, mental health supports. This was money that was included a few budgets ago that has since been rolled into other sources. We just had it balanced, and I've been trying to spend that down.
Not by hiring additional people, but by basically shifting.
Shifting, yep.
Expenses to.
So for instance, Sarah Weekman is our student support specialist. Her salary benefits coming out of that.
We're not continuing to feed those funds at this point, though?
No.
Okay.
No, the state's not providing they're providing it, but it's coming out of the general fund now. So it's just a different pot of money.
I just want to say, Mark, for your first year, thank you. I know it was a first year and you were learning a lot, but we really appreciate your great work. It was a really good year, so thank you.
Thanks.
I appreciate
Very
it as
much.
well. I
Yes.
feel like I know what I need to know.
Right, and the reports have been great. So we
Yes,
appreciate
very informative.
getting a simplified version. The graphs, they're helpful. They're all visible to the community and us, and we appreciate that, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments on the amended certificate of estimated resources? Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Vota,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. McCartney,
Yes.
Mr. Hooley,
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, and can I get a motion to accept the following grants and donations?
And that's be McKinney-Vento.
Right.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
So, can you talk a little bit more about that? Who was responsible for the grant?
It's a competitive grant.
Yes.
These guys over here.
Sure. We had received a grant 2 years ago, I believe it was for 2 years, at almost up to 20,000, and they added a little bit extra. I think we applied for 16 and we got close to 20. We were able to use some of those funds to help us purchase a new minivan for transportation. So that came in very helpful. We can use it for homeless students, for students with special needs, anyone, but it gave us that accessibility. And it was another posting that ODE, DEW, the state, not the Board of Education, but a new posting that they had for another competitive grant. So I applied for it. You can always use those funds. Sarah Weekman often buys clothing that we have on hand for students. She often gets donations for like toiletries, things that people who might be experiencing homelessness, or if there's a fire, that she can have on staff to help provide. But this can do like overnight accommodations, or we've had families who have experienced a fire, and so up to 3 or 4 or 5 nights we can get a hotel for them until they're able to find housing. We can use it for many different things. So I think this year I'd put in there, I'd like to see some tutoring. I know DNA does the summer tutoring. I'd like to partner with them for some of our students to like have that opportunity this coming summer. And I'm totally blanking on the rest of what I had budgeted it for, but we can always move it around depending on our needs and what our students are experiencing. So.
Well, we appreciate you taking advantage of the opportunity to gain funds on the school district's behalf. So thank you for doing that. And it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity here, and it's forward-thinking of you to apply for the grants.
Anytime we see money, it's like,
Yeah. So, thank you.
And there was an interesting thing that I can't remember either Carla or somebody told me, but so if a student is in the district and becomes homeless, say they go to stay with family on the west side, the school district's still responsible for transporting them, which I did not know that. So that's where the van comes in super handy. So you're not taking a bus to the west side.
Yeah.
we had to, this year, contract out some transportation too, because we had kids going completely different directions, and our own transportation just couldn't, even between bus and van, we didn't have enough drivers, so it helps pay those costs for the contracted transportation.
Excellent.
Great.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Hooley.
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler.
Yes.
Mr. McCartney.
Yes.
Mr. Vota.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to 6.01, Superintendent's Report.
Thanks, Mrs. Walker. I wasn't planning for this, but since the board was thanking Mr. Ingles for the outstanding work. I'll also thank you as well too. It's been great working with you this past year. I'll just share with the board that, I have dozens of requests for purchases on a daily basis. Can we do this or can we do that? And I go to Mark every day about our wants and our needs, and he has responses immediately on how this impacts us same day or down the road. So I want to thank you for that. And then we, I guess, weigh how it impacts our students, and if it's going to benefit our students, we're going to push forward, and if it's not, then we're going to push pause. But it's always a collaborative decision. So thank you.
You're welcome.
3 weeks ago, I announced to the school board that we sent out over 70 invites to the community advisory team, and just this morning, I think Carla reported to me that we had over 40 responses, so pretty good turnout there, and we're going to keep pressing forward on that until we get over 50, and we have our first 4 fall meetings scheduled there, so we're looking forward to that work. We're working with SHP still on the envisioning process for September 23rd. Mrs. Quick reported to the school board a couple weeks ago when we went to this educational envisioning process, teachers were saying, this is great work, we want to continue this, we just don't want it to stop. Well, where do we go from here? So now we're doing the planning in the summer for September 23rd on, let's put all these pieces of the puzzle together and just tie up some loose ends and bring this back to the teachers to show them where we're headed for the future. So that's in the, I guess, planning phases right now for September 23rd, Professional Development Day. I wanted to report to the school board, we have numerous projects going on in the summer. I mean, it is quiet around here, but it's noisy with a lot of work that's going on. All the buildings, at least somewhere internally, are having new paint projects going on. We're replacing some of the exterior decades-old signage at some of the older buildings, which I think will spruce up the entrance whenever you're pulling in. We're having athletic murals being installed in the athletic hallway, so you get that competitive climate culture when you walk through the athletic facilities. And the HVAC improvements are still ongoing. Geiger Brothers are going through each of our buildings, finding areas that we can do better at, or even finding areas that's been neglected for even decades. So we're working together on areas with Geiger Brothers where we can get those areas fixed, and then I think we're going to be operating at higher levels with regards to our heating and cooling. So I'm really excited about that. Really, in the long run, we're saving a lot of money because we were just about ready to sign over, $500,000 for new units, and we're not having to do that. We're spending $5,000 here, $10,000 there on corrective measures so that we're operating at the way that we should have been operating at the last 10, 15 years. As you know, there's a refresh project at Canaan Courtyard. They had to do some removal of cement and just some other unused areas there at the courtyard, but now it's turfed over with the same company that did the turf out here from a donation with AWS, about $42,000, I believe. But I can take any of the board members out that are interested, but this is going to be a learning space for our students, and it's going to be used effectively by our teachers and students more than it was in the past, so we're really excited about that. And then I wanted to thank Tim Pennington. I don't know if the board knows this, but Mark 6, he went through a surgery last week. He's going to be out about 6 weeks for a recovery. Mark Finnick is moving into his last year with the district, so he's taking some vacation days. So Tim Pennington is reporting to me and tackling a lot of these projects on his own, and that's why a little bit later in the agenda, you're going to be voting on a responsibilities stipend for Tim Pennington, another $1,200. Just he's carrying the weight of 2 individuals right now to get us through summer, get us ready for the fall. So I wanted to thank Tim Pennington. And then, of course, our academic planning. Carla and I are still looking at our goals from last year and the raw data that's coming in from the state. Things are looking really good. We're definitely moving in the right direction. I'll be able to report to the board in August or September all of the goals that we met or came up short, and then that data is going to drive our goals for the 24-25 school year. So just really excited about the progress, the things that are being done this summer. We're definitely ahead of schedule compared to last year, having Mark and Carla in the positions for a full year. Carla just mentioned to me like an hour ago, we were planning for convocation about 2 weeks before convocation. Here we're already planning for it. So basically across the district and across the board, we're ahead of the game compared to where we were last year. So just really excited about the progress. That's my report.
Okay. Anybody have anything they'd like to
Will there be
grill Dr.
board-
Miller on?
Will there be board representatives on the community advisory team?
We do have,
I think, checking on that, I think sent two.
I think it's Bill and Sonia.
Probably got one.
Okay, I just wondered.
Would you like to be on it?
No. Well, if there are already, that's fine, I just wondered, because I didn't know if that included
Yeah.
the board or just community.
Right, and for anybody in the community that's listening to this board meeting, because I know a
There's
lot
like
of people
36
listen.
hits. There's
Right.
like 36 views
Right.
per month, so.
The dates of the community advisory team are in the agenda, once a month for September, October, November, and December, and we would love to have your involvement.
If you have one conflict or 2 conflicts, it's not a big deal.
You could still participate, right? Don't have to be available for every other meeting. Okay. Okay. Moving on to section 7. 7.01 resignations, 7.02 employment, and 7.03 leave of absence. We could talk about them individually, but can I get a motion to approve the employment and personnel consent items as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions on 7.01? 7.02 employment?
I would like to share with the board that you'll see Lori Robbins on here as
Oh,
the district
yes.
food service
Ah,
supervisor.
great.
We're moving this position to a supervisor pay scale. You know, we knew all along that Lori was the right person for the job, but I think she was a little bit hesitant at first. But after several conversations, she just really did a great job showing us how passionate she is about this work, and she's really prepared and didn't have to twist her arm too much. She just, after several conversations, she was ready to go. So I'm really glad that she's taking on that role. And then you'll see Misty Graber on here. And I don't know why I did this last year, maybe just still understanding how we paid some of our employees, but we gave her a salary on the other scale. It's called the other scale. And
Non-degree other.
Non-degree other, okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, she supervises 20 bus drivers, so we're moving her over to a supervisor's pay scale. She'll get a $2,000 raise.
Roughly, yep.
Roughly for this coming 24-25 school year, but you know, her job is she's calling me in the evenings if there's an issue, if there's a breakdown, there's athletics on the weekends. I mean, really, her job really doesn't stop anytime that there's a bus out, and you know, she's up early making sure that everyone's able to pull out and stay on time. So a huge responsibility, and I'm just really glad that she's continuing to lead that department. We have a new head girls basketball coach as well too. Went through the ringer on an interview process, so we're excited to bring Adeline McGrath on. And you'll see Luke Lawson volleyball on here. I talked to several of the board members about this. Luke has been doing a good job as freshman head coach at the volleyball level. The head volleyball coach wanted to promote Luke to assistant varsity, which he would be taking a significant pay cut on the supplemental. So I'm working with Scott Rule on the structure of this. I'm not quite ready to recommend that to the board yet because I think it just needs a little bit more time, but I would like Luke Lawson to come in at the same pay and not take a reduced supplemental for that season. It's gonna be more hours, longer season, post-season play, and maybe more responsibilities to that head varsity coach.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Votak,
Yes.
Mr. McCartney,
Yes.
Mr. Hooley. Yes. Mrs. Detweiler.
Yes.
Motion Motion passes.
Moving on to section 8, 8.01. Can I get a motion to approve the local policy revisions as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we discussed these policy revisions during the first reading last month at length. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Hooley?
Yes.
Mrs. McCartney?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Section 9.01, can I get a motion to declare transportation impractical and offer payment in lieu of transportation for the 2025 school year for the families listed?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Okay, roll call?
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler?
Yes.
Mr. Hooley? Abstain. Mr. McCartney?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Section 9.02, can I get a motion to approve the resolution to enter into contract with Energy Optimizers for lighting control replacements at Canaan Middle School and Plain City Elementary School pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 167.081. That was a mouthful.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Is this really what this stuff costs? $500,000? That's insane.
Well, we're pouring quite a bit of money into replacing or repairing the electrical ballasts that are the originals, and those are becoming obsolete or hard to come by. And so either continue to put money towards that and put ourselves in a position where we're not gonna be able to light the building up 100% in the middle of the year, or start with that transition right now to the LEDs.
But you don't need a ballast for LEDs, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
any other questions, comments?
Max said it makes sense. I said, okay, look at these numbers. Does
Cost
it
what it
sound
costs,
like
I
it?
guess, but that's
He said,
insane.
yeah,
There's
with
a
what
lot
they're
of lights.
doing, with
There's
what
a
they're
lot of
doing, he
lights.
said it
I know.
wasn't unreasonable.
Like these are fluorescent, right? So they all have ballasts. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler?
Yes.
Mr. Hooley?
Yes.
Mr. McCartney?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Section 9.03, can I get a motion to approve the athletic passes as presented for the 2024-25 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
I think it's great.
I
Great
think it's well done.
compromise,
yeah.
It's good compromise.
Yeah, from what we talked about, you know, all the different options we discussed, I think it's a great compromise. Kudos to Scott and you and anyone else who worked on it. It's a great value for the students and the families.
And this is talking about reducing the student passes from $75 to $40.
Yeah.
This year was effectively the same as buying a home game.
All the home games.
All the football home game
games.
tickets. So for the same price, you get into all the sporting events
The
all
family
year.
pass also got reduced this coming year as well.
Okay. And this will also allow us to track how much money we are spending on students.
So, yeah,
Ticket
it
sales.
would, and also too, during the, special session the legislature just had, they did pass a law requiring a separate student ticket price to be lower than an adult ticket price. As far as I know, Governor DeWine hasn't signed them into law yet. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. So we're expecting to do that. Talked to Mr. Rule today. He has a meeting with the league and the other ADs. They're going to come together to come up with one ticket price for the students. So by having a different price structure, we can then track it and know, well, we had X number of tickets sold at this price, so that's the student price. We can know.
And we're
get
talking
better
about,
tickets.
we're talking about individual sale tickets too.
Individual sale tickets.
So we can monitor exactly how much
Mhm.
the athletic department is earning off of student
Yes.
ticket prices.
Yep.
Or student ticket sales, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, we already know how many student passes were sold last year, but now we can
Not
actually
individual
know how many
tickets.
walk-ups we get
Okay.
too.
Will
I-
Mr. Roll be communicating to the league that we would like to see student ticket prices significantly reduced?
Yeah.
Cause that was a concern that we're gonna go under the per student rate, right, for the league, is that right?
Well, right now the league has one price, no matter what, for walk-up tickets. So now they have to do a separate price for students.
Is that for OHSAA games?
That's for all public school games, basically anyone who's competing, yeah.
So the league's gonna get, like, the league had agreed on, we were paying $7 a ticket. I know there are other leagues that in games, out of league games I've gone to where it's $10 a ticket or more. So I've been very appreciative to the CVC for their, at least the level of ticket prices. But now it'll be less for students.
Yeah.
So are we picking, sorry, I guess I didn't realize that, so are we picking up the balance for every game that the student goes to, that's a league game that we have to pay $7 to?
No. No, it's what they foresee is state law coming down saying you have to charge students less, period.
Okay.
Yeah, already passed the legislature, Governor DeWine is gonna sign it any day now, so.
Right.
They have to be compliant with that no matter what.
So
Okay.
whatever it is, it'll be less
Than
than
the
the
adult
general
price.
walk-up price, which last year everybody paid the same, $7. Or I think it was $8 for football,
8 for football, yeah.
right?
But, and so they have meetings next week with him and the other ADs, and they'll come up with the pricing structure. We'll announce that once we know.
Okay.
Okay. And we're still good with 40?
Yep.
And the passes, student passes? Okay.
Great.
Okay, thank you to Mr. Roll and Mr. Engels for your work on this. Vote?
Okay. Mr. Hooley?
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler?
Yes.
Mr. McCartney?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Section 9.04, can I get a motion to approve the agreement and letter of understanding between the superintendent of Jonathan Alder Local Schools and JAEA online day plans?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Any comments? Questions?
Sounds pretty clear.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mr. McCartney?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Hooley?
Yes.
Mrs. Detweiler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Section 9.05, can I get a motion to formally adopt and become a member of the Plain City Economic Development Incentive Policy as passed by the Village of Plain City on July 9th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any conversation, questions?
We have Mr. Sanford here from the village. He's been a great partner with us as we work through the policy and sure everyone's needs are met, so just want to thank him for his efforts on all this.
For keeping us involved.
So this is just essentially establishes a set of guidelines for any new business coming into the area we don't have to negotiate with every single one.
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to thank the village too. I mean, it was a much different process than we've experienced in some of our others. So we really appreciate the ability to work together on this. So thank you.
It's mutual.
And being willing to compromise.
Yes.
And it's,
We're all here for, right? So.
Yep.
Yep.
it's good to see things. I know you came here a couple years ago saying you wanted this to happen, so it's good to see it actually happen.
Appreciate your patience.
Yeah. It's progress.
As long as we didn't have to write it up.
Right.
We'll wait for you to.
All right, any further questions, comments? Ready for roll call?
Mrs. Detweiler?
Yes.
Mr. Hooley?
Yes.
Mr. McCartney?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 12th, 2024 at the high school at 5 p.m. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Detweiler?
Yes.
Mr. Hooley?
Yes.
Mr. McCartney?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.